Okay, we are going to call this meeting to order. Would you please stand and join us for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome to our November 16th City Council meeting. Matt, you can start us off with a roll call.
Councillors Savage, Robinson,
Here.
Demas,
Here.
Zadi,
Here.
Halter,
Here.
Vitolo,
Here.
West,
Here.
Hickerson,
Here.
Maricomo.
Here, councilors, I would also entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the City Council meeting of November 2nd, 2021.
So moved, Your Honor.
Do you have a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, this can bring us directly into our presentations and proclamations. And for presentation, we have Tyler Thole here from Union Wireless proposed lease that he's looking into with the City of Rock Springs. Tyler, turn this time over to you.
Thank you, Mayor and Councilors. Give me just a second to get my computer fired up here. Can everyone hear me all right?
Yeah.
All right, thank you. My name's Tyler. I'm with Union Telephone Company. I'm here tonight to kind of discuss a project that we are interested in pursuing. Currently, we have some equipment on a tower that we call Rock Springs DiBernardi. It's over off of G Street. This is a street view of it. The tower is owned by Strata Communications. And for about 2 years, we have been wanting to upgrade some of our union-owned equipment on that structure. So in that time, we ran a structural analysis that showed any improvements that added weight to that structure the structure won't support basically any improvements or any added weight capacity. So that is kind of driving us to pursue a new tower in that area. And right here I just have a Google Earth view of some structures within a quarter of a mile of that existing DiBernardi tower, which is right here. There's not a lot of options. We have actually in the past pursued Mountain Fuel, Dominion, Questar, whatever you want to call them, Dominion now, about using an existing structure that they have on their property. And what I can gather from email correspondence that I was able to recover, I want to say about 6 or 7 years ago, they weren't interested at the time at Union adding height to the structure at that location. So currently we are looking at a city-owned parcel that we're calling Rock Springs Kiwanis off of G Street that I have kind of with a pin here. And the reason for that is this is kind of a difficult part of Rock Springs for us to cover. And I can kind of show you what I mean by that with a couple of, so this is a coverage map, and this dark green area is good coverage that we consider something that we're striving for. You know, it's optimal coverage in town, and it's one that I guess is difficult with the terrain in that Kiwanis area, DiBernardi area, because this part of town is kind of in a bit of a bowl. So without Union having any sort of equipment in that area, we have this yellow and red coverage, which is basically the result would be lost dropped calls and slower data speeds. To put it as simply as I can. So with what we're trying to accomplish, we feel like a tower in this area, it gives us the best chance of providing adequate coverage in that area. The other difficult thing that we have going in that part of town is this is a snapshot of the zoning overlay on the Sweetwater County map. And as you can see, there's not a lot of industrial zoned area that we feel would accommodate a cellular tower. And that's kind of forcing us to this area that I have labeled as number 1. Number 2 is the existing DiBernardi Tower. 3 is that Dominion structure. And there's also some passive microwave structures here, but we couldn't really get a good idea of who owns this little parcel, and it's right in the middle of some residentially zoned structures. I know this map kind of shows that this is industrial, but I would believe it to be residential. So that's kind of pushed us to this location. We are aware that we're gonna have to comply with the planning and zoning process, but since this lot is owned by the city of Rock Springs, I guess we felt like it might be, the best first step in this approach would be to get the council and the mayor's blessing to proceed with this structure, I guess with the end result being, if this was to be approved, would you be willing to enter into a long-term lease with Union Telephone to build this structure on City of Rock Springs owned property?
Tyler, what is the length of the lease that Union usually tries to secure?
We try to structure our leases anywhere from 25 to 30 years typically, and how we do that is we have a 5-year agreement that we have with options to renew. So, if we're going after a 25-year lease, we would just propose a 5-year lease with 5 options to renew. And what we deem a renewal is Union sends a written letter to whoever the lessor may be that we intend to, renew that lease when the current 5-year period is about to lapse.
Quick stipulations on the lease. Is there conditions on the lease of any type of building that may occur within a certain radius of the tower, I would imagine? Do you know?
I guess I'm a little unclear as your question.
If you were to put a tower there, would that eliminate any type of construction or development within
No.
a certain radius?
No, what we would ask for, I would assume that any building in that area would be difficult, first of all.
All right.
But, as long as any adjacent structure was less than 30 feet tall, I would assume that we would be in good shape in that respect.
Well, at first glance, I would think that there would be no better place in the entire area other than that rocky outcrop that you have selected. Seems to have the height that you need. My only concern would be what the neighbors may say, and maybe we just need to reach out and...
Yeah, and I was a little vague. That might be a question for Laura. The application that I was looking into mentions this being a light industrial zoned area. So we could apply for a structure 150 feet or smaller. What I am maybe not quite as clear on is this does border residential property. So I'm not sure what kind of requirements we'll have to meet because of that, I guess, shared border.
Mayor and council, we did have a preliminary review on this before taking it forward. In looking at the zoning requirements, the industrial district, this would be a permitted use, a use by right. It would not require a conditional use or anything like that. That would trigger, property owner notification. Now, as part of your lease and agreement to that, we could always go that extra step and do that if necessary. But straight out, you know, if this was private property, this would be a permitted use, this tower. Did that answer that?
That does.
Okay.
Then, if one other quick question, would the access be I Street coming straight through there? It seemed like there might need to be some boundary work done, maybe.
Yes, that is what we are looking at. I am seeing some questionable, and I can see if I can bring it up here. It looks to me like this particular lot may have been, I guess, replatted or had an additional square footage added to the lot from what I could find on the Sweetwater County plat map. I'm actually having a surveyor look into that right now. What I'm wanting to verify is if I Street actually extends to this parcel,
Right.
or if there is an existing easement through this lot that is in place today. If that isn't the case, then we will have to approach that landowner about an access easement. There is an existing utility pole within this lot that we would, utilize to run power to the leased comm tower area. So the only thing that we'll have to look into is the access. What we would propose, if there is an easement that exists, is to just insert a gate here. And this would kind of be, and I'm fairly certain that we would have to pave this unless there was any reason not to. But we'd have to have a paved approach to the leased compound within that lot. So that's kind of what we're looking at initially. If, we have done some secondary, I guess, just some looking into maybe if there's for some reason difficulty obtaining an easement here, or if one doesn't exist, we might have to look at an access to the east or the south of where we're proposing this tower be. And that is going to present its own difficulties just because of the terrain.
Yeah, that would be by helicopter.
Yeah, probably the best route for sure.
Councilman Halter?
It would take some significant, construction in order to build an access from the bottom going up. So we want to avoid that if possible. But at the same time, if that's the only thing that we can accomplish, then we'll have to, I guess, figure that out when the time comes.
Go ahead.
Sure. I got a couple questions for you. Would this site also include the additional equipment for the AT&T and FirstNet?
Yes, it would. That's part of the reason that we're searching for a place to build a new structure, is not only to add our equipment, but we were approached by a co-locator, and obviously we won't be able to house that equipment on this strata tower because of the structural failure. So automatically when this structure were to be built, if it were to be built, we would have union equipment as well as that co-locator on that structure. We're proposing 100-foot height for a couple of reasons. That gives us at least one more co-locator, if not two available slots to house. You have to have about 20 feet of separation per co-locator equipment. So by going 100 feet, we're thinking that we'll be able to accommodate two additional co-locators besides the one that's already going to be going on the structure. The other reason for not going any higher, like I mentioned, the industrial zoned area, you can go 150 feet, but there's about 100 feet from where we're proposing the tower center to the lot line. So we want to, this is extremely rare. I haven't heard of it ever happening, but if there were ever to be a tower failure or a foundation failure, we would want that tower to fail within that leased parcel. So
Right.
that's kind of what's driving that 100-foot height.
Okay. No, that's good.
Okay.
I've been approached by another company as well. They're being forced off of another tower in that same area, and they wanted it. So I'm sure they've talked with you already about it. So
Yeah, and that's kind of another, I guess, driving force behind this project is we feel like at this point in time we can build a structure that's, you know, gonna be able to handle future improvements, if that makes sense. One thing that was brought up that I should mention in that preliminary utility review is that there are some concerns of undermining in that area from an old coal mine, I'm assuming. So we have plans, you know, if we get the city's blessing to pursue this project, to do some initial core drilling to a depth of 200 feet to I guess, verify, you know, what's under there and what it's gonna take to stabilize any type of undermining that may have occurred in the past, to ensure that, you know, the foundation that we install will be as up to spec as possible.
Yeah, I would think on that rocky outcrop, it seems like we did some work down by the field itself and the overburden was fairly substantial. I would imagine that the any void you'll see are gonna be 200 feet plus. I'd
Yeah,
have to
and I
look at
think,
that,
you
but-
know, I've heard rumblings of doing the core drilling, and if there is any, you know, open areas down there, we would like do a flowable fill or grout to just shore up that area underneath where the foundation would exist. It's probably overkill, but it's better safe than sorry.
So one other question I had, Tyler, would the strata tower still remain in use?
Yeah, we don't have any control over that, so
Hmm.
I would say yes. I mean, and that's kind of, you know, a difficult thing, not only for us, but for them, because, you know, the wireless communication facility application states if there's structures within a quarter mile, you have to do your best effort to add your equipment on there. So, and it doesn't have language that mentions, you know, if you can present a case for that exception, then you have the right to do so. And I guess that's what I'm trying to accomplish today is the fact that, you know, we have a structure that can't house any additional equipment. And it doesn't make a business case, it doesn't make sense for a union to pay to improve that structure for another company.
Mhm.
So this is, I guess, our best alternative, not only from a business case, but to, I guess, to accomplish the co-location goals that we have, as well as what's in the planning and zoning ordinance.
Councilors, any other questions?
Your Honor,
Councilor West?
how tall is the strata tower?
I think it's 100 feet as well.
It is.
Yes.
Okay. And they have no need to update?
Well, typically the way the telecom industry works is if a co-locator approaches the owner of the structure and says, you know, we want to add equipment. They say, okay, go run a structural analysis. You go do that. If it comes back as a failure, they want you to pay for that improvement in order to house, you know, your equipment. And with us having to add that co-locator right out of the gate, it's just difficult. You know, it makes more sense for us to pursue you all with an option to build our own structure rather than, like I said, pay to improve someone else's.
Doesn't that giant tower you guys put in Green River reach this far?
Unfortunately not.
Of course it's Ward 4. Interesting.
Well, it might put the skids to that 9-hole golf course we were gonna put up on that ridge.
I'm assuming it's par three.
Due to revenue, yeah. I've lived here all my life and walked through that field to Kiwanis, and it just has always been one of those rocky outcrops that I don't think any plans were had for it. I myself don't see any issues with it. I think the only issue that you'll have to resolve, of course, is the I Street access and trying to get access through that piece. It looks like those were once very small lots that were combined to create that, so there could have been street vacation in there. You'd have to look through the history of that, but I'm sure Laura can help out with that and see what type of access you can come up with. Any other concerns? I'd say go down that route. I don't see there's going to be any opposition to pursuing the idea of putting that tower there. Especially, I think the community itself will benefit by having the better coverage. So,
Sounds good. Well, I think our next step will be, doing our preliminary work as well as kind of working through that application, and I guess we'll be in touch as we progress.
okay, Tyler, appreciate the heads up, and we look forward to working with you and seeing if we could resolve it.
Thank you all. I appreciate the time.
Just to be clear, I may have misunderstood you, Laura. Was there going to be notification of the neighboring? I thought you said that was for private property where they would get the permitted.
Only if you guys want me to send out notice as part of like the lease agreement or something on those ends, but under my process, it's not required. So I guess
I would
let me
ask
know if you want me to.
councillors of that ward, what would you like? I think it's good to let
Yeah.
individuals know before a tower goes up. Maybe a similar radius that we do for, 200-300 foot radius to let people know that it's going to be there. You councillors are going to start receiving the phone calls if.
Yeah, I would rather at least they're notified rather than we make the decision and,
Yeah.
sorry,
Yeah,
100-foot tower.
I can do that as part of his application
Okay.
process then
Let's
at
do.
that time. Okay, thank you.
okay,
Thanks.
thank you. Okay, this is going to bring us to the proclamation. We are honored to have a couple of individuals here from the URA. Once again, we are going to support as best we possibly can through the pure hell that we've been through over the last couple of years. Our small businesses, then Small Business Saturday. And I don't know if you guys want to come up and say a few words about businesses or what exciting things the URA's. I know Gloria wants to come up and is that a negative? No. Okay. Well, we have a proclamation, and we want to make sure that we reiterate the need to get out and shop local. The holiday season's upon us, and do what you can to get out, support our local businesses. They've been through a lot, and they're the lifeblood of our downtown, and we need to make sure that they're successful. We have a proclamation that reads, whereas the government of Rock Springs, Wyoming celebrates our local small businesses and the contributions they make to our local economy and community. And according to the United States Small Business Administration, there are 31.7 million small businesses in the United States. They represent 99.7% of firms with paid employees, and they are responsible for 65.1% of net new jobs created from 2001 to 2019. And small business employs 47.1% of the employees in the private sector in the United States. 88% of U.S. consumers feel a personal commitment to support small businesses in the wake of the pandemic. And 92% of small business owners have pivoted the way they do business to stay open during the pandemic. And 97% of Small Business Saturday shoppers recognize the impact they can make by shopping small. 85% of them also encourage friends and family to do so. And 56% of shoppers reported they shopped online with a small business on Small Business Saturday in 2020. And more than 50% of consumers who reported shopping small endorsed a local business on social media or shopping at a local business because of a social media recommendation. And Rock Springs, Wyoming supports our local businesses that create jobs, boost our local economy, and preserve our communities. And advocacy groups, as well as public and private organizations across the country, have endorsed the Saturday after Thanksgiving as Small Business Saturday. And now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Timothy A. Como, Mayor of the City of Rock Springs, do hereby declare November 27, 2021 to be Small Business Saturday in the City of Rock Springs, and I urge our residents in our community and communities across the country to support small businesses and merchants on Small Business Saturday throughout the year. And we need to do this. I thought it was interesting. I read a study last week that one community, small community, had taken upon themselves on the backside of their welcome to our city sign. On the backside, they had a sign that said, "Where are you going?" You can buy air to their local people that were leaving the community to go 100 miles elsewhere to buy stuff. So check around first. We have great shops. We have great merchants all around our town. Shop local and support our local economy. Buy Wyoming first, and do what we can to support our own. So we have a proclamation. If you want to at least come down for the picture, we won't make you give a statement, but keep up the good work. Let's.
It's been nice because I do see the mayor downtown.
That's right.
I like to see everyone there. Thank you.
He gets all the credit.
Yes. Need to get back on this road to recovery and through this nightmare we've lived over the last year and a half. It's going to be us supporting local business that will make that happen. Next on our agenda, we have a public hearing from the Housing Authority, and it's a public hearing regarding flat rental amounts for each public housing unit. And I would ask, is there anyone here wishing to speak on this public hearing? Anyone? Okay, this is going to bring us into the petition section of our agenda. I would ask if there is anyone here tonight wishing to address the City Council on any issue whatsoever. This is your time to do so. Anyone?
Your Honor?
Was that Patolo? Councilman
Yes.
Patolo.
I got one simple question I want to ask. These stormwater retention walls that we are now constructing from the concrete replacement budget, will the next two be bid out?
Mr. Kalsich.
Yes, Your Honor. When we put our next concrete replacement contract out in February, March sometime, they will be on that bid package as specific line items, so they will be bid out.
Okay.
The one that currently went in or is going in, was done under the current, the existing concrete replacement contract.
Okay.
Okay, still under petitions, anyone wishing to address besides you? No, I'm just kidding.
I don't
Come
see
on
any
down,
bags
Robert.
of popcorn available.
Yeah, I thought we had an agreement that
Yeah,
he was gonna bring
samples.
popcorn.
Samples.
Is that microphone on? See a light?
Yep,
Okay,
it's on.
state your name for the record.
Robert Cornman of Cornman's Kettle Corn. Council members, mayor. Had any of you attended the Home and Holiday Show last weekend, you could have got all the kettle corn you wanted. Let's see, did I remember seeing? Nope, I don't, none of you. That's okay though.
Hey, I have
We
an
did have a good
excuse.
event.
I was down in Laramie cooking burgers for
Oh,
everybody.
we're down for the game? Okay, cool. We had a real good event out there, you know. Deb Knezovich puts on a good event. Anyway,
Yeah,
I read through the ordinance that's proposed for the mobile vending, food vendors, food trucks, whatever. It's very well written. Good job. I think it's covered just about anything that any questions you would have. It's in here. What's going to be required is the vendors to read it, and then they'll understand, you know, why the city went to the extent that they did to put an ordinance in place. You know, it's there to protect us, the vendors and everything else. There is some things in there real quick that on the setting up on at a public event. Say like last summer we had a street event downtown on Front Street, and we were able to plug into the power right there. The city provided power for us to plug into and utilize. According to this, we have to have written permission to do that. Now, would that be the responsibility of the promoter for the event to get that permission from the city to be able to utilize the city's power? Or would that be the vendor's responsibility at that time? Or we're going to be down there, so now we need to contact the city, say, can we use the power? And I need written permission to do that.
I would think the intention of that, if it's an event, say farmer's market, all the vendors would be covered under one request by the
Right.
promoter or whatever it may be.
Okay, because any event, you've got to get permission, and you get your permits and everything else to put the event on
Right.
anyway. So at that time, the event organizers should have that permissions.
Right.
So the vendor should be umbrellaed underneath that,
Correct.
correct?
Mhm.
Okay, so that takes care of that. I mean, I'm all for it.
Appreciate
Yeah,
that.
you know, I just, you know, and we talked about it the first reading. I was unable to make the second reading due to a pretty bad head cold, and I didn't want to share it, so.
We
Your Honor.
appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, I could have, but I prefer not to. So, we'll have the fee, and we'll pay it, but the enforcement thing is that's kind of, the city doesn't have the time to enforce this. So, again, like you said, Mayor, it's gonna be self-regulated by the vendors
It's kind of
that are here.
It's kind of a neighborhood watch.
Pretty much is.
Type of situation,
But-
so.
So, if I understand by reading in here, that we have to display that permit that we get, the vending permit, you know, along with our, you know, our city business, our occupational tax, which is our city business license, and our health permits, which in my case is kind of hard to display in my little tent system and everything else going on, but we'll find a way to get that handled. So when we're in an event and this thing needs to be regulated, who do we contact? I mean, like on a weekend or something like that.
There becomes the problem is the weekend.
Yes, it
that
really
we have
does. And
people
it becomes a problem for all of
jumping
us.
in and jumping out, and we're trying to work out some situations where, you know, the police department could be called. We just had a recent issue where, you know, the planning department does, they are probably not around on the weekend to take care of that, making sure that, all those individuals are aware of the conditions, the ordinances, and what type of citation to write.
Exactly. So, I think, like us, as mobile vendors that are out there, and you see the guy come and say, hey, by the way, not only do you need a city business license, you need your health permit. Oh, and by the way, you need a vendor's permit. You need to get those things before you can set up.
Right.
And they're gonna tell you to, and so there you be. So now do we start bothering the police department with that stuff? They got enough of their own stuff to be doing, without being
And-
bothered by this stuff.
And this would be included in that stuff.
Okay. The wife and I were talking, and we'd be willing to help regulate that on a volunteer basis. I mean, seriously, someone's got to regulate it. I mean, you guys don't have time for it, and we're out there doing it.
Well, the same thing is what I'm saying. If we see several vendors, or trust me, I know because I speak with many of the vendors. If they see somebody set up camp and they know for sure they dropped in town and they don't have what they need to have, they're going to make the call, which I'm sure you would be doing the same. So I think everybody will be volunteered to help enforce that the rules are followed. And it is to protect the vendors.
But it's to protect us that play by the rules,
Yeah.
And it makes it, then it gives us a level playing field, and everybody gets a little bit of the pie, and it's good for everybody,
Right.
That's
Don't be
about it.
dumping your kernels down the car wash, Mr. Corman.
Pardon?
Don't be dumping your kernels down the car wash when
don't.
you're done, though.
No, I throw them on the lawn. The squirrels love them.
There you go.
No, we actually dispose of them like we're supposed to. We clean up after ourselves, we dispose of them correctly. We take care of our, we have very little wastewater, we don't use much, so. We try
Well-
to be good stewards.
I think it has turned out, staff has done well in their participation that we mentioned before by all those individuals that showed up and participated, offered comments, has come up to prove that the process actually does work. I think it's a great ordinance. I think it's something we all can live by, and as we see something that may come up in the future that we were amiss on, we will review it and make changes
Sure.
if need be.
The, like as we set up, can we have the application, the permissional applications that we need for online? So we can just go in and fill them up online. Hey, we're gonna be, excuse me. We're gonna be setting up here this weekend and doing our thing. Even though it is private property, still have to have permissions.
Well,
by
one
the
of the
city to
things,
do that.
it's on third reading tonight, one of the things that we will be adding on the request of the city planner, Laura, is an effective date of January 1st, 2022. So maybe by that time, you could, when we get through with this. But
Sure, well, that's what I'm saying.
Your Honor?
We're done for the year,
I think so.
in theory.
I
Maybe not.
I believe in the ordinance, the application process is gonna be is one application. You complete it, you don't have to put down and schedule your locations or the events or anything.
Right.
It's just gonna be, you get a permit, and then it's incumbent upon you to make sure you're getting those permissions from the property
private
owners and
property,
that.
Right.
But we don't need a list of scheduled locations where you're going to be.
Okay, I didn't quite read it that way, but, okay.
Yeah.
'Cause
It's only
right
if it's
now,
over
it's-
30 days, right? Then they would have to have the site plan and all that. But you guys aren't setting up for more than 30 days, so.
Yeah,
Right.
That might have been
Laura
the
might want to
confusion.
chime in on the details,
Well,
but
yeah, the 30-day thing, go ahead.
we're trying to streamline this best we possibly can.
We are actually working on a draft right now of the application, and it's exactly as Councilman Zadi said. It lists all the criteria that's outlined in the ordinance. They sign, date that they understand the following. We're not going to require a specific application. The only time that we will require, as outlined in the ordinance, is if they're going to be on a property for more than 30 days, and they become a stationary vendor,
Right.
and then a site plan and stuff will be required at that time, so. But the goal is to send out a letter with the business license renewals that'll outline the new ordinance and provide the the application at that time. So you'll have all those, and contact information will be provided on there if you have any questions at all.
Great. Thanks, Laura.
Thank you. That, I guess that answers all the questions I have. This way everybody gets on the same playing field.
Your Honor,
Yeah.
Do
I
it.
do have a
Councilman Zadi,
question.
go ahead.
As for Rick, really, is what the questions for, on his concern with asking written permission of the property owner, do we need to make any changes in the ordinance that it would be the event organizer as opposed to the
Individual.
food vendor?
Well, I think the way the ordinance is written right now, they certainly have to have the written permission of whoever they're receiving power from. Now, if there's an event, like say a city-sponsored event, we could simply issue a written statement to everyone who's participating that they have permission to use city power.
Yeah, and that's kind of the way it's handled right now, and we just make sure that that's clear. I think what Councilman Zadi's probably asking, should we write that language in so everybody understands?
Yeah, 'cause there's
that?
the intent of the law and there's written, and that's why I want to avoid any gray area, that intent follows through.
Well, we can certainly do whatever the council wants. Councilor Zadi, I, at this point, my opinion is it's probably not necessary, because we're really just talking about public city events, and would every vendor have to come to the city and get permission? You know, if it was at the fairgrounds or some other place like that, you know, they would easily be able to obtain the fairgrounds permission, but I'm thinking about, you know, city-sponsored events. I can't imagine that we would want to ask every vendor to come and get permission. We would just say we're having a city-sponsored event, and all the vendors have permission to use our power.
Okay.
But we can certainly add something in there if you
No,
want.
I don't
Councilor
I don't want to make it complicated either, so I just want to make sure
Yeah.
we're covering.
I think we're okay.
Good.
Okay.
So, the other thing on the permissions like that, a lot of times, you know, we don't ever set up without permission. Even on the private, but they get, a lot of times it's just verbal permission. Yeah, go ahead, no problem. But that, according to the new ordinance, we need to have that in written permission from the property owner. Yeah, you got permission to set up here.
Well, I think you would want that in case you were checked. I mean,
Right, that's
your
what
your
I'm asking.
responsibility, yes.
So, you know, like, you know, Smith's, you go in there and you talk to the manager. Yeah, go ahead, no problem. Set up at the end of the parking lot.
I'd say simply, don't go in and talk to him anymore, send him an email.
Exactly, send him an email.
And then when he emails back, there's your written
There's your
permission, and you just put that.
That or just take your, I guess we could just write up our own little permission to, on this
Yeah.
spot, put in the name of the spot and have them initial it or something, be done with it.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
If I may, Mayor, I think written permission doesn't necessarily contemplate, you know, a formal written document that's notarized and all that stuff, just exactly as you're talking about, email
Right.
and so forth. And with regard to enforcement, I think like a lot of things that are similar, we'll be working on a complaint kind of a basis rather than, you know, having someone
Yeah,
dedicated to going out
exactly.
and policing, and it'll just
Yeah.
be on the basis of complaints received from the public.
Okay.
and that would usually come from the property owner, of course. You don't have permission to be here, and so, okay. Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
Robert. Appreciate the
You're welcome.
comments. Anybody else wishing to address the council? Any issue? Go ahead.
You. My name is Sherelle O'Driscoll, and I'm with Cream on the Move. And the first meeting I learned that I'm operating illegally with my music box. So I was doing some research in some other cities where, on their permits and stuff, there's actual ordinance, it says that how decibels, that like people are getting that into it, and people are gonna be jerks sometimes. So I didn't know if we need to put a verbiage in there until we encounter Mr. Happy Pants, who's gonna call me in and say that I'm too loud. Or
You know,
can
I think we had some pretty good discussion on not only time frame for the ice cream truck in the residential areas, but I'm not quite sure if decibels is something we want to go there. We struggle with that as it is,
I don't
Rick.
put it full volume,
Yeah.
but I still want it to project
Yeah.
to where people can know that I'm coming, so they're not chasing me down.
If I may, Mayor, I think that those types of things also come by way of complaint.
Mhm.
And a decibel meter, I'm not certain that the police department has those. But also, there is the possibility that you could just simply be disturbing someone's peace after a particular time. And I think for the mobile vendor ordinance, we've set the time at sunset at Councillor Zadi's request. And so that should get them well into, nighttime. And then, I'm not aware that, have we ever received any complaints about ice cream trucks or folks?
Only that
The noise?
you didn't
Couldn't enforce
make it
it.
past my house, no.
As long as there's no country music, you should be fine.
Ooh, there goes. But I agree.
A room
We'll
divided.
be dealing with that in the case of a complaint, but I think we have made the adjustments to the ordinance to cover yours, and I just don't see that being a
Okay.
problem.
And then does this now abolish that rule that I can't, like your city, how does that work?
Yeah, there
'Cause
was no
I didn't get to
rule.
come to the second thing. Well, then how is it illegal? If there's no rule?
Why was that phrased? You just couldn't play it at all. That's what it stated.
Oh,
Now
okay.
it's allowable.
So, no, okay, I
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure.
I think it was totally, you were
You just had to
just
be quiet.
forbidden.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know where that got lost, because you think something as simple as an ice cream truck, it's like,
Okay.
but based on what the language says now, I think you're well covered.
Okay, and then, in the city ordinance, when I first originally got, my my business license, I have to have my generator within 10 feet of where I am. Does that still account to me driving? Is that gonna be an issue where the generator has to be so far from when? My husband asked me all the
So
questions.
No.
10 feet from as you drive your truck?
No, like if you're
Oh,
serving,
if you're
it has
parked.
to be from the serving, and this says nothing about this, and so I feel like mine's not that far apart while I'm driving compared to where I'm parked. Does that make sense, I guess?
As your park, you have to have it 10 feet, but
Yeah.
driving, it can be right there.
Can it be? Like, that's a question, I don't know.
Laura sounds like she's going to shed some light on this.
Well, I don't know, I'm gonna defer to Chief Walmsley, because I believe that's probably under the fire code, when they're parked, that their generator has to be so far away from the establishment, and that's, under this ordinance, you still have to meet fire codes and
Right.
everything, so.
Your Honor, Counsel, I'm not sure what the fire code says exactly about having that a certain distance away, but I would imagine it's because of exhaust fumes. more than
Yeah,
anything.
that's what I would think.
So it doesn't get in the serving compartment and asphyxiate you, and
Start giving away free ice cream and
that would
pass
be
out.
where I
and-
think that comes into play.
What I've been researching and going through these other cities, and their stuff, they're getting like down to the nitty gritty, so they must have had problems along the way, so I
Right.
was just trying to.
Well, Cheryl, these are issues. Ordinances are basically laws, and they're never written until we have issues. It would be great if we never had issues. We wouldn't have laws, we wouldn't have rules, and we wouldn't have ordinances. But we basically create these to protect and to keep us safe and keep us from killing one another, obviously. But I think everything that we do create should and does include common sense as well. So, you may research a lot from other cities, and maybe it could be Denver, where they're dealing with, 1,500 ice cream trucks through residential areas where we may have 3, I don't know. So as they come up, we deal with them in a common sense fashion, and I'm pretty sure Chief Walmsley hit the nail on the head. I think that's just to protect your safety with the generator, to make sure you don't asphyxiate yourself from the fumes, the exhaust. I think you're fine.
So, okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else wishing to address the council? Any issue? Okay, I'm going to close the petition sections. We're going to move on. Councilors, next item is the officer and staff reports. We have item number 1, the Health Insurance Fund recap of October 2021. 2, the financial report summary for October 2021. And 3, the Rock Springs Renewal Fund financial statements, June 2021. Councilors, I would entertain a motion to approve the officers and staff reports in place on file.
Your Honor.
Councilman Batolo?
So moved.
We do have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second has been called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, councilors, it's going to bring us to the council committee and board reports. We have item number 1, the Main Street Board meeting minutes of October 11th, 2021. 2, the Rock Springs Historical Museum Board meeting minutes of October 13th, 2021. I would ask, are there any other council committee or board reports due or wish to come forward at this time? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the council committee and board reports in place on file.
So moved, Your Honor.
We do have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, councilors, next item is the correspondence, and just 3 items there. And item number 1, just again, a thank you for all those that helped out with the Rockin' from the Rain effort to get some funding back to those flood victims. It was well received, many good letters, and much appreciation. With that, I would ask that someone make a motion to approve the correspondence and place on file.
So moved, Your Honor.
We do have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next item is the bills and claims section of our agenda. Item number 1, the bills and claims for November 16th, 2021. Councilor, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor,
Councilwoman Demus?
I make a motion to approve the bills and claims for November 16th, 2021.
We do have a motion to approve the bills and claims for November 16th, 2021. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second has been called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And item number 2, the salaries for November 8th, 2021. Councilors, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor,
Councilwoman Demus?
I make a motion to approve the salaries for November 8th, 2021.
We do have a motion to approve the salaries for November 8th, 2021. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, councilors, this is going to take us to the new business items section of our agenda. Item number 1 is a request from the Engineering and Operations and Public Services Department for permission to fill a vacant streets maintenance worker 1 position for the Streets Division. Councilors, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor,
Councilwoman Demus?
I make a motion to approve this request.
We do have a motion to approve this request from Engineering and Operations and Public Services. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second has been called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 2 is a request from the Mayor's Office for approval of employee Christmas bonuses. Councilors, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor.
Councilman West Hickerson? West Hickerson.
Hickerson's got it.
Hickerson.
I move to approve this request.
We do have a motion to approve this request. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second has been called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And item number 3 is a request from the 307 Dance Studio for permission to use the old fairgrounds for a bonfire event on November 20th, 2021 at 7:30 p.m. Councilors, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor,
Councilman Robinson.
will there be s'mores? I move to approve this request.
On condition of. We do have a motion to honor this request. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second has been called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You know, anything to do with fires or vendors, we have really not scored any food or
Nothing.
anything
Right,
out of
right.
this. Item number 4 is a request from Lease Incorporated for permission to transfer their liquor license to Green River to cater the Tautawa Christmas party on December 17th, 2021, from 4 p.m. to midnight at the Expedition Island Pavilion. Councilors, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor,
Councilwoman Demus?
I make a motion to approve this request.
We do have a motion to approve this request. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second has been called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, this is going to take us on to the resolution section of our agenda, councilors. And resolution number 1 from the Housing Authority, resolution 2021-156.
A resolution authorizing Timothy A. Como, Mayor, acting in his capacity as chairman of the Rock Springs Housing Board, to approve a revision to the authority's flat rent schedule for units in its HUD-assisted public housing program.
Councilors, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor,
Councilman Batolo?
move to approve 2021-156.
We have a motion to approve resolution 2021-156. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. Roll call.
Councillor Robinson,
Yes.
Demus,
Yes.
Zadi,
Yes.
Halter,
Yes.
Batolo,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Hickerson,
Yes.
Mayor Como.
Yes. Item number 2, resolution 2021-157.
A resolution accepting and approving an open-end equity lease rate quote for the lease of city vehicles between Enterprise Fleet Management and the City of Rock Springs, Wyoming, and authorizing Timothy A. Como as mayor of the City of Rock Springs, Wyoming, and Matthew L. McBurnett as city clerk of the City of Rock Springs, Wyoming, to execute said lease on behalf of the city.
Councilors, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor,
Councilman Zadi?
I do have just one question out of more curiosity than anything. Looking at the first vehicle, it's a police cruiser, and annual estimated mileage is 15,000. How many miles do we put on average on that police cruiser? I'm just curious.
Mayor, Councilor, I couldn't give you the actual number, but I know more time is spent idling than driving in those cars.
Yeah.
Typically, that's what I average for myself is 15,000. So I thought, and that's, taking that into account, that you guys do sit in the idling, your officers do, that seemed high, but I didn't know if it was or not, or just kind of more curiosity in my end.
I can get you those numbers, Councilor. It just, it does sound a little bit high because some of our vehicles are fairly old and do not have that many miles on them.
I just don't know how much of an impact that has on lease rates.
Yeah, well, how would that impact? Yeah.
Like 15,000, something maybe to think of down the road. But I move to approve.
Good question. We do have a motion to approve resolution 2021-157. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. Roll call.
Councillor Demus,
Yes.
Zadi,
Yes.
Halter,
Yes.
Batolo,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Hickerson,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Mayor Como.
Yes. Item number 3, resolution 2021-158.
A resolution accepting and approving an ASO group reopening request and plan changes with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Wyoming to be effective January 1st, 2022, and authorizing and directing Timothy A. Como as mayor of the City of Rock Springs, Wyoming, to execute reopening request documents on behalf of the city when it is received.
Councilors, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor,
Councilman West.
move to approve resolution 2021-158.
We do have a motion to approve resolution 2021-158. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. Roll call.
Councillor Zadi,
Yes.
Halter,
Yes.
Batolo,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Hickerson,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Demus,
Yes.
Mayor Como.
Yes. Item number 4, resolution 2021-159.
A resolution accepting and approving an addendum to the collective bargaining agreement with the International Union of United Mine Workers of America and directing Timothy A. Como as mayor of the City of Rock Springs, Wyoming, and Matthew L. McBurnett as city clerk of the City of Rock Springs, Wyoming, to execute said addendum on behalf of said city.
Councilors, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor,
Councilman Batolo.
Move to approve Resolution 2021-159.
We do have our motion to approve Resolution 2021-159. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. Roll call.
Counselor Halter,
Yes.
Patolo,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Hickerson,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Demus,
Yes.
Zadi,
Yes.
Mayor Como.
Yes. A little bbit of a shout out, if I could. We have our two union reps here with us, Luke Caffrey, Les. These two are stellar. They've been great to work with. They're here almost every meeting. They follow the work of the council, and it's just been a great opportunity to work with them through many years. As those of us who've been here for a long time know, it's been more of a struggle at best at sometimes. I appreciate your work, both of you, and asking the good questions and the communications that we have. So keep it up. Much appreciated, and glad that you're there to represent our employees. With that, item number 5, Resolution 2021-160.
A resolution accepting and approving Amendment Number 2 to the Transportation Alternatives Program Sub-Recipient Agreement between the Wyoming Department of Transportation and the City of Rock Springs, authorizing Timothy A. Como as mayor of the City of Rock Springs, Wyoming, to execute said Amendment Number 2 on behalf of the city.
Councilors, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor.
Councilman West?
Move to approve Resolution 2021-160.
We do have a motion to approve Resolution 2021-160. Do we have a second? Do we have a second? Roll call.
Counselor Batolo,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Hickerson,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Demus,
Yes.
Zadi,
Yes.
Halter,
Yes.
Mayor Como.
Yes. With that, Counselor, that's going to bring us to the ordinance section of our agenda. We have 4 ordinances all on third reading, starting with number 1, Ordinance 2021-15, third reading.
An ordinance amending Article 3.2 entitled Offenses Concerning Public Morals and Decencies, Section 3.244 entitled Daytime Curfew of the Ordinances of the City of Rock Springs, Wyoming.
Counselors, third reading. What's your pleasure?
Your Honor.
Councilman West.
Move to approve Ordinance 2021-15.
We do have a motion to approve Ordinance 2021-15. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second has been called. Roll call.
Counselor West,
Yes.
Hickerson,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Demus,
Yes.
Zadi,
Yes.
Halter,
Yes.
Batolo,
Yes.
Mayor Como.
Yes. Item number 2, Ordinance 2021-16, third reading.
An ordinance amending Article 5.2 entitled Operation of Motor Vehicles of the Ordinances of the City of Rock Springs, Wyoming, adopting Wyoming statutes 31.5.1301, 13.5.1305, and Wyoming statutes 31.5.1401, 31.5.1402, granting authority to the Rock Springs Municipal Court to enforce Wyoming statutes requiring the use of safety belts.
Counselors, third reading. What's your pleasure?
Your Honor.
Councilman Batolo.
Move to approve Ordinance 2021-16.
We do have a motion to approve 2021-16. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's called. Roll call.
Counselor Hickerson,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Demus,
Yes.
Zadi,
Yes.
Halter,
Yes.
Batolo,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Mayor Como.
Yes. Okay, item number 3, Ordinance 2021-17, third reading.
An ordinance creating Article 10.11 of the ordinances of the City of Rock Springs entitled Permitting and Regulation of Mobile Food Establishments.
Your Honor,
Councilman Zadi?
I'd like to add an amendment to this and to make it effective January 1st, 2022, as per the request of the Planning Department.
Okay, councilors, we do have an amendment to the ordinance on third reading. I believe we need to approve the amendment first.
That's correct, Your Honor.
So Do I have a motion to approve the amendment?
Your Honor,
Councilman Robinson.
so moved.
Do I have a second on the
Second.
amendment? Second's called. Roll call.
Councillor Robinson,
Yes.
Demus,
Yes.
Zadi,
Yes.
Halter,
Yes.
Vitolo,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Hickerson,
Yes.
Mayor Como.
Yes, with that, ordinance 2021-17, third reading as amended. Do we need to reread that with the amendment, Rick, or? With- So, reread? Yes. Do you remember the amendment?
An ordinance creating Article 1011 of the ordinances of the City of Rock Springs entitled Permitting and Regulation of Mobile Food Establishments effective January 1st, 2022.
Correct. Councilors, Councilman Zadi?
Think about making another amendment to see if we can.
Yeah, right.
I'd move to approve.
We do have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second has been called. Roll call to wrap this up.
Councillor Demus,
Yes.
Zadi,
Yes.
Halter,
Yes.
Vitolo,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Hickerson,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Mayor Como.
Yes, thank you, everyone, for everyone's work in a great ordinance that was well communicated, well written, and well participated in. Item number 4, ordinance 2021-18, third reading.
An ordinance amending Article 10.3 entitled Transient Merchants, Peddlers, and Solicitors of the ordinances of the City of Rock Springs, Wyoming.
Councilors, third reading. What's your pleasure?
Your Honor,
Councilman West.
move to approve ordinance 2021-18.
We do have a motion to approve ordinance 2021-18. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. Roll call.
Councillor Zadi,
Yes.
Halter,
Yes.
Vitolo,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Hickerson,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Demus,
Yes.
Mayor Como.
Yes. Councilors, next order of business, I would entertain a motion to adjourn and enter into an executive session to discuss real estate.
Your Honor, so moved.
We do have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we will adjourn into an